Go to school, get a job, buy a house, work 40 years, invest in a 401k. That's what we're told, right? But look around. Most middle-class families are drowning in debt, living paycheck to paycheck.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Working Class Rich. Man, today we're talking about the subject, man, how to escape the middle class trap, man. So we're going to do a reaction, man. I'm going to try to hang out with you for about 20 minutes or whatever, to kind of talk about this subject and listen to different people's viewpoints, man, and see can we really get a picture on how really to escape now. Truth be told, I could tell you how to escape in less than 5 minutes. I can already tell you how to do it, but uh, let's listen to what these people got to say, man, and I'm gonna chime in dialogue about it, man, because it's important to me that middle class survive, man. But in order for us to survive, we gotta think, man. We gotta critically think, and it's obvious with times past, man, that middle class ain't thinking. We just going through the motions, man. We just weeding through the mud, hoping that we find a clear path, man. You ain't thinking. You're not strategic, because when I look at what the enemy is doing and the system is doing, I could tell you we caught off guard every single time. So listen, if you tired of being caught off guard, hey, let's listen, man. See can we get some nuggets out of this, and we'll just take it from there. Let's go.
And warm meals. You're not starving, but you're not free either. It's the illusion of safety. Most people think being middle class means you've won the game. No, it doesn't. It means you have stopped playing. You're like a basketball player who got a small lead in the first quarter and decided to run out the clock because risk scares you. So instead of building a business, investing in real estate, or learning how money really works, you settle for predictable paychecks. You paid your taxes like a good citizen and hope the system that designed your cage will also give you the keys. So you need to understand that the middle class is not a destination. It's a distraction. It's financial oppression. You earn just enough to feel like you're doing something right, but not enough to own your time, protect your family, or build a legacy.
The American people are fucking dumb, bro. The middle class is a bunch of robots walking around hypnotized because they have 2 cars and a college degree. If the guy next to you is making $4 million in the same company where you sell the same product, had the same opportunity, and you make 400 grand and you feel good about yourself, you should be ashamed of yourself as a father and a husband. Hey, you need to make 400 grand just so you can fucking get ahead in this country.
Being poor is hard. But being middle class, that's a special kind of hell nobody talks about. You're not poor enough for assistance, but you're not rich enough for freedom. The poor gets food stamps, housing vouchers, and tax breaks. The rich, they get loopholes, lawyers, and passive income. But the middle class, we get stuck with the bill. We pay full price for everything, and when we can't keep up, they blame us and tell us to budget better. They got us working 60 hours a week, can't afford healthcare, can't afford daycare, and God forbid you make $2 over the income limit, then boom, all your benefits vanish. So they punish you for trying to do better. Middle class isn't the American dream. It's a fucking treadmill. You run, you sweat, you grind, but you never actually move forward. And every year they crank up the speed.
This might be a hot take, but my financial literacy content pet peeve is when people are like, oh, beware of a lifestyle creep when you make more money. And then they give the example of, you're going to go to the store and buy organic butter that's $2 more. And I'm like, if you've increased your income, like, you can afford to spend $2 extra on butter. Like, that's not going to put you in the hole, or like, it's a slippery slope. No, like if you want to buy nicer food and you can afford it because you've made more money, like, there's no problem. There's no problem in doing that. Like as long as you can save some money and invest some money too, like, it's just buy nicer food if that's what you really want. Like, that that's not lifestyle creep.
Be very careful.
Let me chime in here. These first feeder videos we're really talking about all the things that's against middle class, man, you know. And if there is something that I could share with you, listen, it's about how you see the attack. It's about how you see it, man. Yeah, there's tons of enemies out there. There's tons of strikes against middle class, man, in many different ways. But it's about how you see the battle, man. Middle class need to stop playing chess and start playing checkers.
About lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep is when you're making $100,000 a year and then next year you're making $200,000 a year. You're like, well, now that I'm making more money, maybe I can go buy a Lambo or I can go buy another thing. So lifestyle creep is when your expenses start going up and they catch up to your higher income. So you don't really change. All you do is you make more money and you spend more money. The goal is to make more money and take that extra money you're making and invest it so that your investments grow, so you can use the proceeds from your investments to buy all the luxury goods that you want. Anytime I want to buy anything, I make the cash flow, then I buy it. I want a Rolls Royce, I make sure I buy a piece of property first because I'm in real estate. I fix it up, I refinance, I see how much cash flow it's spitting out, and I use that cash flow to buy the car that I want, or the watch that I want, or anything that I want. So it's not coming out of my pocket, it's not coming out of my savings, and it's not on my credit cards. It's coming from the cash flows that I'm buying. When you're making
the middle class is the most trapped group of Americans, and here is why. The reason is because they make too much money to qualify for help, but at the same time, not enough money to get out of the rat race. So what do? We buy bigger houses, buy more expensive cars, and we chain ourselves to consumer debt. The way out of this cycle is not more spending. Assets, ownership, and discipline. There's your plan.
Today I want to talk to you about middle class money traps,
so
how to escape the middle class.
Let me go back to this guy.
But at the same time, not enough money to get out of the rat race. So what do? We buy bigger houses, buy more expensive cars, and we chain ourselves to consumer debt. The way out of this cycle is not more spending. Assets, ownership, and discipline. There's your plan.
So he's saying assets, ownership, and discipline. Now, is it me, or do all those things require money and resources? You can't get assets without spending. You can't get ownership without spending. And to be disciplined, you got to have something to be disciplined with, man. So there's a little double speak in this conversation.
Today I want to talk to you about middle class money traps, how to escape the middle class forever. If you are sick and tired of feeling like you're on a hamster wheel, in a rat race, running around in circles like a dog chasing its tail, if you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, you're tired of having more month left at the end of the money than money at the end of the month, but you still make a decent income, but you're frustrated, like, why can't I get ahead? This video is for you. So what are the middle class money traps? I'm gonna talk about 5 middle class money traps that keep people stuck in middle class forever. The first one is the dissipation trap. The dissipation trap is they waste most of their lives waiting for, wishing for, hoping for, and wanting their life to get better without doing the things that will actually make it better.
Have you ever made too much
to
qualify for help, but somehow not enough to feel secure? You're not crazy. You're stuck in the middle class trap like me and so many other people. You're making 70, 80, up to 100K a year. And then after taxes, rent, mortgage, groceries, car, insurance, utilities, even daycare, there's like nothing left. If you made less, you'd qualify for assistance and all those things. But because you're doing okay on paper, you get zero help. It's like the system punishes you for earning just enough to survive, but not enough to actually build anything. You're not bad with money. You're just trying to thrive in a system that just wasn't built for the middle class. Follow if you feel this too, because
well, listen, a lot of these people are saying, you know, most middle class people make too much money to get government assistance. Now you need to, I said in the beginning, it's how you look at the attack. You know, many of the people statistically who have got government assistance like Section 8, SNAP benefits, man, they were trapped with that assistance for generations. So in many cases, us not qualifying for that type of help, you know, is actually a blessing, you know, because the spirit of the United States, man, in the pioneer phase of it was government, leave me alone and let me build my own house. Let me build my own land, man. Let me take care of my own homestead. So for middle class not to be getting that assistance, we are actually dwelling in the American spirit, you know.
that's how I've been feeling lately. And drop a comment if you've ever made too much for help.
This is the slowest way to become wealthy, and it is sold to the middle class that compounding interest is what's going to make you rich, or that cutting your spending on lattes is going to be the thing that helps you build real wealth. This is a lie that you have been sold, that you should wait 40 years and use the vehicle of compounding interest in order to make real money. Sure, if you started putting $500 a month and you put it in a vehicle that allows you to make 8% and that compounds, in 40 years from now, you could have $1.5 million. I will never forget the very first time I did the math on this compound interest thing. I was like, wait a second. I'm gonna be sacrificing the small amount that I make in my paycheck right now to eventually have $1.5 million in my bank account in 40 years. This is the way to not have control of your income and to be sold this lie, sold this idea that if you give somebody else your money, if you give somebody else your hopes and your dreams about your financial future, that they're going to solve your freaking problem. They're not going to solve your problem. They make money off of you doing it this way. So
Let me tell you exactly why the middle class just might very well be the worst class to be a part of. And as someone who is in the middle class, I must admit, a lot of it is our own fault. So let's compare the different classes. So people in low income get the most help from the government. Free health care, food stamps, vouchers. The government literally allocates billions of dollars each year just to assist low-income families. And it's understandable because low-income families need the most help. And as a Section 8 landlord, I don't have a problem with this. Now, rich people, they usually have an investing mentality, especially for the long term. They invest their money in assets like real estate, stocks, and business, which generate them passive income and builds wealth. Their money makes them money, and they also receive a lot of tax benefits as well. But the middle class is the class that works the hardest, pays the most in taxes, receives the least amount of benefits or help from the government, and to top it off, we're the class that spends most of our money on liabilities. The more money we make, the more money we spend. In fact, in a recent study, it showed that half of the middle class who are making at least $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. This is a huge problem, and a lot of it has to do with our mindset. A lot of us spend money on all these liabilities because we want to feel and look like the rich. But if we want to truly be rich, we have to do what the rich are doing. Use our earned income from our jobs to invest in cash flow and assets. And as our passive income grows, use some of that money to pay for our liabilities. Not from our...
So let's start with where it all...
See, that's the type of statement that's, you know, like how people eat turkey bacon. You trying to turn a turkey into a pig, man. The fact of the matter is that the rich, you know, they don't do what a lot of things that people say, man, the rich just invest in what the only thing that the rich invest in, that they put money in, is the psychology to control the middle class. You need to understand every chess piece they are moving on the board is for some psychological control over the population. You know, they know how to move those pieces. So get everybody to think, hey, we're going to show you the secret to be like us. When have greedy people ever gave you a secret to be just like them, man? The master always want to be the master, and he wants the slaves to always be the slaves, no matter what color you are, man. They invest in psychology, man, not none of the stuff that he's talking about. But hey, go ahead.
Now for you. Most people don't even realize there's no such thing as a middle class, because if they did, there would be riots. Because psychologically, our system conditioned us to accept middle class as being above poverty, just so working people don't think that they're at the bottom. Because the truth is, the working class is the bottom class, where you spend your entire life working jobs that keep the system rich and wealthy, and in return, you get compensated with crumbs, and somehow that's being called middle class, which means the entire class system is a mind trick. They feed you this fake title to sell you the illusion of being middle or average, when in reality, you're working your tail off and barely making it. It's truly a psyop, but just something to think about.
Here's why middle class money habits are keeping you broke. And number one, you finance everything. Phones, cars, vacations, furniture, everything. If there's a monthly payment, you're taking it. If your whole life is monthly payments, you're not really buying anything, you're buying debt. And number two, buying too much house. Stretching the budget is how most people end up house poor. Your home shouldn't choke your lifestyle. And number three, you're saving but not investing. Saving is safe, but it won't build you wealth. Investing will. And number 4, you rely on one income. One income is fragile, one skill set is fragile, one job is fragile. You need to build a second income stream, and this could even be dividends from investing. And lastly, number 5, no emergency fund. And remember, 80% of emergencies turn into debt if you don't have an emergency fund. The middle class isn't failing because they're irresponsible. They're failing because they weren't taught how to build wealth.
The middle class people are failing because we believe in so many half-truths and lies, man. I mean, look at what he's saying, He's saying it like it's just so easy to get from here to there. It's like, okay, if Warren Buffett was right when he said, hey, man, you need to invest for the long term, man, compound interest, all that type of stuff. If that stuff really was popping, man, would he really be spreading it to the multitudes, man? Would he really be giving the secret away, man? It's like middle class people, we have shot ourselves in the foot simply because they're trying to program us to believe that we can actually be there, when the fact of the matter is half of us, we have already created a good life. That's all we need to do is maintain it. How many more houses do you need? How many more cars do you need? It's because we get in excess that we find ourselves struggling, man, because that's what the rich want. The rich want you to overextend yourself, and in the overextension, they start setting the traps, man. Here's one guy here, listen to this.
One thing that rich people buy that the poor and middle class don't. The rich people, they have these nice watches, and they drive the Lamborghini, the Ferrari, the Bentley. And that's what people see, rich people, that's what they have. But that's not actually what got them there, right? So what did they actually buy? Rich people, one thing that they buy is they buy assets that the poor and the middle class don't. Now, what are assets? I'm talking about income producing assets. Assets that
we got to watch out for when they start repeating certain things,
so example,
man. When everybody starts saying it,
fat people do fat people shit. That's why they stay fat. Depressed people do depressing shit. That's why they stay depressed. Middle class people do middle class shit. That's why they stay stuck. And if they're lucky, they'll die middle class. That's if they're lucky. No wealth, no freedom, just slightly nicer debt than the lower class. And being okay is just code for quietly drowning. One emergency away from broke. One layoff from Uber side hustle. One government shutdown from the lower class. The result? You're just reflections of your repeated decisions. Your habits build your habitat. You were trained for this. Go to school, get a job, spend more as you earn more, retire at 65, and pray you don't outlive your money. That's not a plan. That's a trap. Middle class people stay tired, convenient, and call it stability. Now, I could give you 5 tips, but I won't. Because here's the truth. Middle class isn't winning. They're barely surviving. If you want different, you gotta move different. Unlearn 95% of what you were taught and start thinking like the people who broke out.
Generally speaking, the middle class is supposed to be the engine of growth, but in Thailand that engine is failing, and there's a really interesting reason why. And the country of Thailand faces one of the worst debt problems in Asia. In fact, their household debt accounts for 90% of the GDP. Just 2 decades ago, that number was only 40%, but today the average Thai family owes $18,000. And keep in mind that most of the debt isn't good debt, since only 1/3 is housing related. Instead, most is consumer based, on cars, personal loans, as well as credit cards. And really 3 things contributed to this massive debt problem, and all this started back in 2011. And back then, the country faced one of the worst floods in decades, and many had to borrow to survive. In addition to this, the government created a first-time car buying program, and over 1 million low as well as middle-income individuals bought cars, but many defaulted. And this really leads us to our last problem, where the pandemic really caused many household incomes to collapse. And if you combine that with the internet-driven consumer culture, this leads to massive amounts of debt. Keep in mind that many people in Thailand use informal lenders, meaning that the interest rates on these debt can range from 10% all the way up to 120% per year. Many economists predict that this growing debt may cause the country to slow down.
Middle class is fucked. I'm telling you right now, if you find yourself in the middle class, going through the motions and in survival mode, nothing is ever going to change unless you change. And the more you settle for middle class and average and ordinary, the more you're going to stay there. And the
You can
reality
tell
is
from his
that on
stance,
an
he's
average and
selling
ordinary
something.
middle
Just the way
class
he
income,
came
you're
on.
never going to be able to get ahead. Inflation keeps going up.
He got the answer
Salaries
to
and hourly
everything.
wages are never going to keep up with inflation. So you got to take this into your own control. Learn how to be innovative, learn about digital sales, learn about marketing, learn about
Yeah, he's
something
selling
that's going to
something. I mean, listen to all those words. You got to be innovative. You got to be this. Those are all just buzzwords just to say, I'm finna sell you something. And this is the biggest problem with middle class people, man, trying to make a life for themselves. You always run into grifters, man, MLMs and all these types of things that distract you along the way to say, hey, I got a quicker, faster way. I got a hack, man, for you to get there. You know, it's like, listen, create a plan, stick to your own plan, man. And if it's a plan that you can understand, no matter how slow it is, stick to your plan.
help you get out
Better watch
of
out
middle
for
class.
this guy here.
Otherwise, you're going to end up,
Why is it that the middle class works their ass but always seems to struggle financially? Well, look, there's a lot of answers. But there's one that's a fact, and that's because they pay high taxes, they have no trust, and they rely on banks. Look, the wealthy play a different game. They use trust. They use infinite banking, aka family bank.
So he said, we rely on banks. And then he goes into the wealthy have infinite banking. So rich people go to banks too. They may not go to our same kind of bank, but they go to banks too. It's funny how they'll downplay something and upplay something else. And it's the exact same thing, man. It's that double speak, man, that is shipwrecking many middle class people to believe that these people actually know what they talking about, man. Let's listen to this, man.
They own nothing. They control everything and have zero concerns about their assets ever being taken. Look, they don't have income taxes. They don't pay capital gains taxes. And you can't come after their assets. Well, look, the good news is it's just not for the wealthy. This is available to everyone. And if you want to break out of the cycle, comment wealth below and let's get out of the middle class money trap. Look,
the middle class uses their time and trades it for money. The wealthy use their money and they trade it for more time. And typically they do it by taking money and buying assets or buying things that will pay them money so that they don't have to work to get money. The investments work to make money. So I just see the conversation about money is different. And, you know, it's said that the hardest thing to accomplish in one's life is to elevate to the next socioeconomic class. That's why most generations repeat the same financial problems. They live in the same style and type of houses, and it just repeats itself because you only have the information that you have around you. In today's day and age, if you're willing to go seek it, there's endless opportunities to get the information, but it's just the wrong conversations are happening. And you're not.
All right. So thank you for hanging out with me. You know, listen, the Bible says that whom much is given, much is required. You know, whom much is given, much is required. Meaning that, listen, if you are a person that cannot handle a lot of responsibility, why would you let somebody out there convince you to take on more responsibility? If you are a working class, middle class person who can handle a lot of responsibility, why would you settle for less, right? So you have a lot of these grifters and people out there that's genuinely trying to encourage you. They talk to everybody like everybody's the same. And everybody's not the same. You got some people, you need to find you a cottage in a small town somewhere with, you know, where you don't have to make a high level income for you to have a good life. You need community you need to find out what is your lane you need to be in, because they talk to all middle class people like all of us want to be like the rich. Well, you know, the fact of the matter is all of us don't. All of us don't want multiple houses where you got so much responsibility to take care of both in taxes and property taxes. All of us don't want that. But then there are some people, yes, you do want that. But so when you define where you at in life and who you are in terms of being able to handle responsibility, that's how you know who to listen to, you know. But when you find these shiny, you know, eloquently speaking people that seem like, you know, they give you the hookup because they really care about middle class. No, they just trying to sell you something. Listen, middle class, we got to think better than the rest, man. Stop playing chess. Play checkers, man. So hey, until next time, this is Working Class Rich. This is Starsky Inspires. If you like what you hear, please subscribe. You know, I'm be giving a lot of commentary on my videos going forth. If you like it, you like it. You don't, doesn't matter to me. This is what I'm finna do, because middle class gotta survive. We gotta get back to thinking and realize that we are way smarter than what artificial intelligence will ever be, man. They can't compare to us, but they got to try to dumb us down to put something else up. Y'all feel me what I'm putting down? So hey, join me for the next episode, man. I'll see you next time on Working Class Rich.